when we look at when somebody sends out, I'll call we try to put out information from legitimate sources, and you try to make sure that they're verified. So we always refer people back to our website to look for true information. Misinformation comes when people are sending out unintentionally wrong information, and then it gets shared, and then you're trying to put that genie back in the bottle. And then the other issue was the disinformation, where people are knowingly putting out false information, and which is drawing on resources or creating a different narrative that you're trying to deal with.
Hey everyone, William Diaz here with Rebel News. Today I am reviewing the Emergencies Act Inquiry taking place here in Ottawa from October 13th to November 25th. On October 25th, we saw witnesses Russell Lucas and Marcel Baudin testify, and while you might not know the names, they are significant figures in the Public Order Emergency Act Inquiry. The inquiry is investigating the justification of the Trudeau government in using a counter-terrorism law never seen before law to crack down on peaceful weeks long of anti-COVID demonstrations led by truckers in Ottawa in February. Russell Lucas was the first witness of the day to be called. Lucas from the Ottawa Police Services, the OPS, and has been part of the OPS since 2000. According to the Commission's documents, in January 2022, Inspector Lucas began providing oversight to the Special Events Office as Inspector of the Operational Support Team. It was on January 21st that Inspector Lucas began to serve as OPS Incident Commander for the Freedom Convoy. Take a look at some of his testimony.
The direction that came down was, we're not giving them 1 inch. So that's what we worked with. And then again, so we're spread thin, and now the next few days, it's just about building a stabilization plan so that we're not burning our members out, and that getting enough rotation of food and things like that before we can get into the next phase of an operation.
Lucas spoke about misinformation, talking about different sources of information online that he did not see as credible as others. Lucas said misinformation was having a big impact on policing the Freedom Convoy, and claimed that it was a big challenge to try to stay ahead of. The inspector noted if officers were taking selfies with protesters. Here are his comments on that situation.
One of the pillars of policing response to events that have the potential to be volatile, whether they're a regular call for service in 911 or going to a protest, is about de-escalating. You want to bring it, if people are running at a 9 or a 10 emotionally, you need to bring it down a level. So if that means being friendly with them and having a chat with them and taking a picture with them so that people are getting more relaxed and it doesn't turn into a confrontation, that's what traditionally we have encouraged our officers to do. They have a right to protest. We are not supporting any cause. And part of it, if you go back to our operational plan, it tells them you can't wear symbols. We tell them they cannot overtly support or not support an event. They're there to be neutral.
But the issue here that you're identifying is that there's confusion that the police are in fact supporting the protesters.
Because they were allowing selfies to be taken with protesters, correct.
So would you characterize that as an instance of misinformation on social media?
Correct.
The last thing I want to point out from his testimony is what Lucas thought the goal of the convoy was. He said he understood the role of the Freedom Convoy to raise awareness, quote unquote, and show discontent with government's overreach around COVID-19 mandates. Now, the second witness of the day was Marcel Baudin from the OPP, who chose to swear in a feather before beginning his testimony. Here are parts of what Baudin had to say.
But I had been called by Deputy Commissioner DeMarco, saying that the Deputy Minister of Public Safety Canada was looking to reach out to me, and then I don't know how that came to be, but ultimately that's how that came through. It was from Deputy DeMarco to myself, a call at night, and just saying this is going to happen with this. Is this something that you would be interested in assisting us with?
Okay, but it was your understanding, based on information from your team, that there were people who were prepared, people on the protester side who were prepared to have this type of meeting.
Yeah, like I'm assuming like Tom Marazzo was one name that came forward. Tamara Litch was one name that came forward. So there was people that had stepped up as being leaders and had people following them.
Now, here's the most shocking moment of the day. Well, Brendan Miller, the lawyer representing the convoy organizers, had a mic drop moment in cross-examining, reviewing the evidence with Baudin. Let's watch a clip first.
I understand this is an email from the Deputy Minister of Public Safety, Rob Stewart, to you, right?
Yes.
Okay, and in the third sentence on the top paragraph, it says, "We have a big meeting this afternoon where this will be discussed, so I really need your input," right?
Yes.
All right. Did you know that that meeting was at 3:30 p.m. and that it was with Cabinet and it was the incident response group of the political executive meeting and that your proposal was provided to them?
No.
Okay. It was. I can tell you that. And then they invoked the Emergencies Act. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
What a moment, folks. The whole room went silent at that moment. So here's what went on. Baudin from the OPP had a plan to handle the convoy, the Freedom Convoy, peacefully without requiring the Emergencies Act. He gave the plan to Trudeau's cabinet the day before the Emergencies Act was invoked. The deal with the truckers was very similar to the plan suggested by convoy organizers, as Tom Morazzo told us later. Trudeau read the plan, threw it away, and invoked the Emergencies Act anyway. Baudin's reaction is priceless, and at the end, the evidence was damning for the feds.
You were part of the team that cleared up protest sites during the negotiation. Do you think that the actions of the federal government invoking the Emergencies Act that ended that ability? Once again, you were part of a team that cleared up protest sites through negotiation. Do you think that the actions of the federal government invoking the Emergencies Act ended that ability?
I know there's an OPP media person that you could probably reach out to if you reach out to Bill Dixon.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Finally, that same day, Liberal ministers and Trudeau himself spoke about the inquiry and the fact that Doug Ford was summoned to testify. Here's what some of them told accredited bailout reporters in Parliament.
With regards to the question about Commissioner Lucky's correspondence, none of that, of course, changes her testimony before the Standing Committee of Public Safety last spring, where she said very clearly that the Emergencies Act was needed to resolve the situation on the ground, not only in Ottawa, but across the country, both peacefully and swiftly. And this was a government decision. We listened carefully to the array advice that we were getting at the time. We consulted with various partners provincially, territorially, etc. But we took the decision because it was necessary. We took the decision because this was a situation that was without precedent. We took the decision because the impacts to Canadians, to workers, to families, to vulnerable citizens who required essential health care treatment, including, as we've heard, those who were needing chemotherapy at the time, compelled us to act. And it worked. And now we're going to continue to cooperate with the Commission to make sure that we take whatever lessons are necessary.
Your reaction to Premier Ford fighting the summons to appear before the Emergency Commission? Should he appear?
I will let the Emergency Commission manage its own witnesses. For my part, I was glad to offer to go as soon as we called the Commission, because it was an automatic part of when you invoke the Emergencies Act, you make sure that there's a public inquiry to look at why it's done, and that's exactly why we called it, and that's exactly why I'm looking forward to appearing. But I will say it was important that different orders of government were able to work together, and Premier Ford and I worked together well on delivering a return to normal for the citizens of Ottawa and people across the country.
But that's not what the transcript said. Like, how you said that he was out to lunch, he wasn't there.
We've seen over the course of this inquiry a lot of different events happen at different times, and yes, there were times when our different orders of government weren't as aligned as we would have liked to be, but it's obvious that Premier Ford chose to stand with people of Ottawa, people of Ontario, people of Canada, and not with others. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Any comments on Doug Ford claiming parliamentary privilege to try to fight the subpoena to pacify?
Look, I've been invited. I'm glad to go. Excuse me, my voice this morning. I've been invited. I'm glad to go. I think it's important that we all participate.
We're just a few days in, and every day it gets worse for the Trudeau government. It's an extremely interesting inquiry. Thank you for watching. This is William Diaz here with Rebel News in Ottawa. So if you want to make sure to stay updated with everything that is happening, if you want to help us fund our independent journalism here in the nation's capital, please go to truckercommission.com.